Good morning, good morning. Welcome into the QIA room. For my replayers, thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate you guys. Press the heart button and then press the share button, and let's get this message out. As you saw the title, What Has Control? We'll talk about that in just a minute. I just want to appreciate you guys for coming back and viewing this video. Now I'm going to welcome some live players that are joining. So if you want, you can fast forward about, let's just say about 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and we'll get started, okay? You don't answer all my questions. Good morning. Come in the room. Welcome. I'm just tagging a few people in here while we are waiting. I'm just going to tag a few people. That's all I'm doing, y'all. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I do appreciate it. Oh, we got a few people saying good morning. Awesome. Thank you. Look, we coming in the room ready. Good morning, Queen. How are you doing this morning? Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, sweetheart. I do thank you so much. We actually, let me lower this a little. I do appreciate that. Yeah, we're gonna, I appreciate all of my live players that are jumping on. Thank you so much for saying even good morning to me. I do appreciate it. Good morning, Prophetess. How are you doing? Good morning, Trini. Good morning, you guys. Good morning, Sister Kathy. Good morning. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having an amazing morning. As you saw the title, What Has Control? I was reading a scripture in James chapter 3, verse 4. And in this scripture, it just talked about how something so small, like a rudder, has control of something so big. And it was talking about, the big ship. And a lot of times if we look at our lives and look at situations and what's going on in our lives, something so small that can happen and our tongue will say things, not realizing that it's controlling something much bigger than our tongue. A lot of times we don't realize what we're speaking out, how we are causing death or how we are causing life, or how we're, whatever we're speaking out really has an effect, really does have power. And we don't take the time to say, you know what, how it says a lot of times, in the Bible, it says how a soft answer can turn away wrath. And I believe that's something that a lot of us have to work on, right? A lot of us have to work on the thing, of whenever someone says something or does something, on how we respond, how we react to that thing, how we speak to that thing. It's definitely a work in progress a lot of times, but learning that, not every situation deserves a response, I guess. But learning that, and at one point I did a speech, how we monitor, ships in the sea, and we monitor airplanes in the sky to make it to their destination, but yet we don't monitor our mouths. And, I did a motivational speech on that, because a lot of times we don't monitor what our mouth says, realizing that it's causing damage, realize that it's causing hurt, or realizing that we can be the difference, in a child's life, or even in, for example, a wife to a husband. What we don't realize how much of a difference we can be by just the words that we say. I was talking to one of my a cousin-in-law, and we were kind of all talking on the phone. We were talking about some things as far as history goes. And then he talked about how powerful women are. And he was like, a woman doesn't realize how much she can help a man become the man he was supposed to be. He said, just ask Michelle Obama. And he was like, that's always the woman behind it, because the way she speaks to a man, the way she talks to a man can build up a man so much that he believes he can become president of the United States. And it's the same thing even in our lives, even if we're not going for presidency, right? We don't understand how powerful our tongue is and how much we can build up even ourselves, even what we tell ourselves mentally, even what we tell ourselves when we're in an emotional situation. Even when we tell ourselves whatever we talk about in the mirror, because I'm still a person that definitely does affirmations. So even whatever it is that we tell ourselves, we don't realize how much of an impact we have on ourselves. I had to really get my mind recently out of something, because I'm like, you know what? If I continue to speak to myself of, you know what, I should have said this or should have did this, I am going to put myself into a place where I'm going backwards versus forwards, right? I'm not speaking life, or whenever you focus on something so much, that means you're actually living from that past, and you start basing what you're going to do from past experiences. And that's what we don't want to do a lot of times, because then you get the thought of, well, this ain't gonna work, right? I done tried this, and it's all about a positive mindset. It's all about the mindset saying, you know what? I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see the positivity in it. I'm going to see the good in it. And that's what I'm going to move forward from, and it's really difficult sometimes for us to do that, to not live, we wake up thinking about what happened yesterday. We start off living in the past, we start off, and that's actually what helps us make decisions. That actually what helps us, do things that we decide to do because of past situations. And yes, sometimes those things are meant to help, educate you so that you do better. But a lot of times, especially if it's negative things, it actually kind of helps us make decisions, and it isn't always the best decision. And so you have to watch on how even you make decisions, because you don't want it to be based off of necessarily past experiences, especially if it's something that you're working towards. If I based every motivational speech or every time I got on live off of past experiences, I probably would have gave up by now, right? I probably would have threw in the towel. But I was like, but you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep putting my best foot forward, because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Learning how to be your best, learning how to become your best at whatever it is God would have you to do. So we have to really take the time to monitor our mouth. And I know one of my friends, one of my sister queens on here, talks about, she says, Shamika, mine's so bad I got to monitor my face, because she talks about how her facial expressions gets her in trouble, and sometimes we got to monitor even our facial expressions. We have to monitor, all of these things, because listen, in our walk, in our purpose in life, God has us going somewhere, and we can't allow things to deter us from where God has us going, because sometimes the things that we say, sometimes the things that we do actually slows us down. We talked about, I believe, last week, Friday, about the hesitation. Sometimes our mouth causes hesitation. Sometimes our tongue causes hesitation in what God would have us to do in the purpose that he has us walking in. So we have to learn how to monitor that mouth and say, you know what, God, it may be lawful, meaning it may be truth, but it may not be expedient. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's not what I'm supposed to do right now. And so we have to realize that, yeah, it might be truth. Everything that I'm saying might be truth. But I want it to be expedient to God. So you know what? If you tell me not to say this right now, or if this is not the right time, let me monitor my mouth and begin to bridle my tongue and say, you know what? It's not the right time. Because I want to be led by God. Even when we speak, we want to be led by God in the things that we say. Even when we're speaking to other people, we want to be led by God in the things that we say, because we want to always cause life, right? We want to always build up life in everything that we say. We want to continue to build up life. I was trying to find that other scripture that I had, but we want to continue to build up life. That's what we want to continue to do. But the way we have to do it is monitoring our mouth. Monitor your mouth. Even when you're talking to your kids, realize that you are the person that's showing them to be the adult that they're going to be, on the way you've done things. or if you were, quick to even correct yourself, if you never had so much pride that you wouldn't even apologize when you were wrong in doing something towards them, whatever it might be, they're watching you. You always have somebody's eyes on you, watching you on how you deal with situations, and how you handle things. Good morning, Sister Queen. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining in. Right, Queen. Listen, and sometimes that's hard for us, especially when we've been hurt by someone else's tongue, right? If we've been hurt by someone else's tongue, it's sometimes hard to keep that smile on your face, or keep and you sometimes listen. We're not going to pretend that things don't hurt us sometimes. I'm very much of a person. You acknowledge something that's in your life, and you deal with that situation, and then you move past that. You know that if you're, because sometimes we learn how to wear a mask when we put on a smile when we're dealing with something that's hurting so much inside of us. So I think it's very, very important to deal with what's inside of us, and then from there saying, okay, I've dealt with, like, I recognize that this is something that I'm dealing with. I recognize this is something that hurt me. And then I choose from this day forward to move on and to no longer dwell on what has hurt me. I acknowledge the fact. I might even journal about it. I might even speak to someone who, well, not all the time. I'll speak to God about it. And then someone who definitely has um, a God heart, if I can say it that way. Someone that won't tell me necessarily what I want to feel, but the feeling of goodness, and tell me stuff that I want to hear. But someone that will tell me what's right, and someone that will tell me, you know what, let's pray about this. Because not all the time can we bring everything that we deal with to someone. We not all the time can we bring situations or circumstances to people, and we do have to learn how to rely more on God than we do people, because sometimes people will tell you their feelings or their opinion, and then you base your decision on how you handle things off of other people's opinion. So I think it's very, very important that we deal with situations that we feel, and that and we take the time to recognize, you know what, this is a feeling that I have, and it hit me harder. It really bothered me. But from there, I'm no longer going to allow this thing to have precedence in, as far as in my life this morning. I'm going to begin to put on the garment of praise. I've prayed, I've released it. God, you take it, and I'm good. Let's go. Let's do this thing, right? We really have to do that, because we don't want to ever not acknowledge our feelings, or not, because your feelings, my feelings, they are important. It is important the way you feel. God gave us, even though I know a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't cry, you shouldn't do this. God gave us these emotions. He allowed us to have these emotions, so we have them for a reason. And there is a way to even deal with our emotions. If we have hurt, we might cry. If something does something to offend us, we might get mad. We can get angry. It tells us be angry, but sin not. It's what you do when you get these emotions. So, it's okay to have even fear. Understand, I'm not talking about the spirit of fear. That's different. If I walk up to the edge of a cliff, you best believe I'm going to have a fear of falling. That is definitely an emotion, but the spirit of fear is something about being timid about speaking the word of God. I'm not talking about the spirit of fear. That's completely different. But, realizing that we do have these emotions for a reason. So if it's sadness and you have to, cry, I know it also talks about in the Bible where it's the Beatitudes. And I believe that's is it in Psalms, I believe? Well, it talks about the Beatitudes where, it says there's a time for mourning, there's a time for joy, meaning there's a time that I'm going to be sad. There's a time that I'm going to have to deal with these things. But then after that time is over, after that season is over, it's time to move back to the next season. And this is the season of joy, the season of happiness, the season of go get it, the season of dominate, the season of handle business. That's what the season is, and so it's okay to deal with these things and feel this way for a little while, but then we have to learn how to move past these seasons and how to get how to get over those things. So I think it's very important that yes, we can acknowledge it, that season's there. But listen, I'm looking for that season that where I'm like, we're gonna dominate. That's the seasons I keep looking for. So the more I keep looking for those type seasons, the more my body wants to find those type seasons. The more my eyes and my mindset wants to find those type seasons. So when I find those type seasons, that's when I'm like, yeah, let's dominate. Let's do this. This is what it's about, and to keep feeding off of that, because the more and more, it's almost like you become addicted to discovering the purpose inside of you. You become addicted to discovering that gift that's inside of you. You become addicted to learning more and more, and the more you learn, the more you realize how it gives you this happiness inside and this joy inside. And so you start to look for that more and more, and you look for opportunities to have that feeling, because you're studying, whatever it is you study, and you're researching the Bible, and you start to look for these things so much because you're like, what? I want to dominate in this. I want to, become my best version of me. I want to, become the gift that God said that I am. I want to be that. I want to pull out that purpose so much that people see the difference inside of me. And because they see the difference inside of me, they say, you know what? If she could do it, if Shamika could do it, I definitely could do it. Let me do this. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do for, to help people discover their purpose and their gift, and say, you know what? I want to be the best version of me. And one thing I had to learn how to do from jump is monitor my mind, the way that I thought. Then I had to monitor my mouth, because the way that I spoke ended up reflecting what I thought. So I had to learn how to monitor these things. I had to learn how to say, you know what, I'm not going to allow something so small like the rudder on a ship that can turn this huge ship. Something so small can turn this huge ship. I don't want to allow something so small, whether it be a situation or whether it be, whatever it might be. I don't want to allow something so small to determine my mindset, to determine how I think, because that's something huge. Something very, very huge. When you start to think, and you start to think differently, and you start to say, you know what, God, this is who you told me that I am, and I'm not going to allow someone to tell me that I'm not that. I'm not going to allow someone to say this anymore to me, or I'm not going to allow, the way people treat me to determine how I feel about myself, to determine what I think about myself, to determine those things. I'm not going to allow, whatever situation might be going on to determine those things. Like, that's something big. That is something huge. And we have to learn how to say, you know what, God, you are the captain of my ship. I don't say co-captain anymore, because listen, I need Jesus to take the wheel. As is it Kelly Clarkson? I need Jesus to take the wheel. I'm not gonna say, Jesus, you're the co-captain. No, I'll be the co-captain in my life. Jesus, take the wheel, and I'll be a co-creator in it, and whatever you tell me to do and however you tell me to move. But Jesus, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. I kind of always kind of look and shake my head whenever I see those bumper stickers that says Jesus, my co-pilot. I'm like, man, Jesus, my pilot. I can't afford to make him co-pilot. I need to be a co-pilot, because let me tell you, when I put it in his hands, he does greater and better things. He does greater and better things than I ever could have done. So I have to release it completely into his hand and say, look, you the boss, Jesus, and then whatever he tells me to do, that's what I'm going to do. So I definitely am. That is my motto, that Jesus is my pilot. He's my captain. I'll be the co on that part. I'll be the co on that part. But yeah, no, definitely. Thank you, Elkie. Thank you so much, Elkie. But just realizing that what God has us doing in our lives. We just got to say, you know what? We're not going to allow, little things anymore to control the way we think. We're not going to allow little things anymore to control even our actions. Because just like that butterfly, that statement about the butterfly, how the butterfly's wings affect something so far away, and it's just from the wind of its wings. Something so small can affect something so far away. We don't realize sometimes our tongue can do the same exact thing. It might not affect something right here, right now, but you'll see it manifest down the road. You see something that you said or something that you do manifest down the road. So, so I really definitely promote and want to push and urge you this morning. Monitor your mouth. Monitor that. Don't allow that small device on you to control such a huge ship, especially when it's negative. When it's a negative thing. Don't allow something, so small, even you speaking about a situation, something so small, controlling your mindset, shifting you from happiness and joy into depression and anxiety, shifting you from a place of, euphoria where you're like, you know what, God, you're doing such like amazing things in my life. And then you say, man, nothing goes right. Whenever you say that's some absolute terms, nothing, but we have to realize how our tongue control, like if we can learn how to control our tongue and monitor our tongue, we can actually better things in our lives. We can actually help our lives a lot more and other people's lives around us, because I'm learning that even daily, even my smallest, my kids, my youngest is 2 and my oldest is 12, trying to even learn how to monitor my tongue even when I speak to them, because the fact is I want them to become the best version of themselves. I want God to do amazing things in their lives, and I don't want to be that person that has created a subconscious that says, you know what, I couldn't do this, or you know what, I don't want to be that person that's created that type of subconscious. I want to be that person, be like, that created such a great subconscious to where they're like, man, I could do this. I could do this. And then even when they do fail or they do miss an opportunity, that they dust themselves off and say, you know what, that wasn't the end of it. And then they hustle back after it. They're going back after it. I want to be that type person. So we have to learn how to monitor our mouths, monitor the way we think, monitor, definitely even look for opportunities to say, you know what, I didn't like the way this happened, and I could speak something out that could actually damage something, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to leave it to God, and I'm going to move forward, because I want to cause growth and not death. That's something that definitely I'm learning daily, and that I hope even my life being an open book to you will show you, through the life that I live, how we can just become better people, how we can become better citizens in the kingdom of God, how we can become greater. It's work. It's work. And you got to work at anything that you really, really desire. It takes work to get that. And I believe that when we work towards these things, we appreciate it more. We appreciate it more because we worked for it. Like, how, because I've done this before, like when I say, look, I'm going to gift you with this program, and we're going to work through this, where people, they'll show up for a little while, but then because it's nothing that they've invested in themselves, they fall off. They're like, oh, well, I forgot to do the homework this. Then I have those that will say, hey, I want to invest in the program in myself, and I want to invest in myself, and they follow to the end because this is something they put money towards. They're like, look, I've invested in myself. I'm going to get every bit out of it. It's not everyone's like that, because I definitely wasn't like that when, someone first gifted me in changing my mind. I was writing notes. I was taking it. So not everyone's like that, but just learning, to become the best version of ourselves, is so, so important. It's so important. Sis, look, I see. I guess um, I wasn't bold like when I was younger, I wasn't very bold. So like a lot of times my feelings would get hurt. So I would always cry because my feelings, were hurt. But I wasn't that type. Like my tongue wasn't a razor, and I've learned, as I've gotten older, um, I have learned to take opportunities to be bold, especially when it comes to the things of God, but like I think I'm the same way, like my friend Nicole. I had to monitor my facial expressions. I had to monitor. It wasn't my tongue. It was my face that got me in trouble. It was my facial expressions that get me in trouble. We've learned how to cut close our mouth, but then we like, looking sideways or something, not learning how to, monitor our face, So I think my face was more the razor, versus anything, you know. Oh, I miss you too, Cindy. Hey, Cindy. Y'all keep Cindy in prayer. She's on an ambulance also. This was my partner. She is an EMT, so we definitely want to. She's on the front line. We definitely want to keep her in prayer. But definitely, like I had to monitor my face. Like I had to monitor the face, because the face would get me in trouble, sister. You know, you have no filter sometimes. But you know what, Elkie, real talk. That's not a bad thing. Let me tell you why. Because if you say it in love, and even though it's, well, I guess that wouldn't be having a filter, huh? But like if you saying something because you love a person in the way that you say it, I believe. Oh, got a little fly in here, but I believe the way that you say it, you could still be bold, but it's all if the person receives it in love, I guess. You can still be bold, but it's if that person, receives it in love. And that's what I want to do. I want to be that person that, I speak um, in every motivational speech, in every message, that I speak, and that people feel the love from my heart, because I would never, want to hurt someone or never want to make someone else feel bad and stuff. I want them to feel the love from my heart, because that's why I do it. That's why I do it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I do it, because love is definitely the most excellent way. Love is definitely the most excellent way. Like I talk to you because I love you, or even when I correct my kids, like I'm correcting them because I love them, because I want them to be better people. Because I want them to understand that, okay, it isn't right to push your sister down because that hurt her, or it isn't right to hit your brother with that toy because that hurt him. We correct our children because we love them. And then even when we speak things out and we say things, we want to always do it in love, because it is the most excellent way. I appreciate you guys for joining me on this live, and I hope that we just have to monitor our tongue. Monitor. I should have put, facial expressions too, because that's definitely something that definitely, um, I've worked on and continue to work on, is monitoring my facial expressions and my tongue. So I love you guys. I thank you guys so much for coming here. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. But yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to monitor our tongues and monitor our facial expressions. And sometimes I didn't even realize I was making a facial expression, where I got tapped saying, look how you looking, look how you looking. I can't see me, but I can just imagine. So just learning how, to definitely do everything that I do, to do it in love, because I want to show love and I want to give love. And, if we just show a little more love to everyone, this world will definitely be a better place. If we do it out of love and the love of Christ, I want to definitely show everyone the love of Christ, through me. So I remember, if you change your mind, you'll change your life. So if you change the way that you think, your life will forever change. But you are your only limitation. You are the only one that limits you. And I want to thank all my sister queens that have joined me and that come in the room every morning that we get on. And I do appreciate you guys. I see there's this one fly, y'all. There's this one fly. I cannot get it yet, but I will get it. But I thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, if you change your mind, you change your life. So if you change the way that you think, your life will forever change. But guess what? You are your only limitation. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.